Hey guys, Vika here. Today I'm going to show you how to customize your Dapper Notes back mountain stitch notebook, this thing. First things first, if you've never embroidered in your life, I got you. I'll absolutely be demonstrating all the basics of embroidery and sharing the tips along the way. And if you are pretty comfortable with embroidery or just want to figure this thing out yourself, I grant you full creative freedom to do whatever you like. I'm now gonna jump on my desk and we'll switch to a voiceover Vika, probably with better sound, and we'll go through all the steps together. Alright? Let's have a look at what's inside this kit first. You should have yourself a neat little pouch to keep everything in one place as you work on this project, because chances are this is not going to be a one sitting and done type thing. Next we have a handful of DMC embroidery thread. This type of thread is actually the most popular kind. It's pretty special and we will come back to talking more about it as we start working on the project. You should also find a pack of needles inside your kit. You're gonna want to keep these handy. And along with these, we also have a small little needle threader and a beautiful Dapper Notes pencil. You will probably need that as well. And of course, the notebook itself. Such a cool notebook. Enon is just a master of his craft, so skilled at making these. It's perfect, I love it. And now let's get started. To help you visualize a possible outcome, I went ahead and started customizing my copy. And this is what it looks like in the early stages. Now please don't get intimidated by it, this is a lot of work. And I will show you a few different ways to customize this notebook. Some are easier than others, so you can choose the best approach for yourself. This is just to show you what's possible. Now I want to talk about this thread in more detail. You will see that each skein of thread consists of this pretty thick stranded thread. It has exactly 6 strands. Now, it's important for you to know that these strands can be separated and used individually or as a bunch of a few at a time. Whether you want to use all 6 strands at a time, or 3 or 2, or even if you're feeling brave, 1 strand, which is exactly what I used to make this. This is precisely your decision to make, but of course I'm not going to leave you without examples to help you make that decision. Enon kindly sent me an unfinished cover of the notebook for the purpose of this video, so I made a few stitches showing you what each combination of strands will look like individually to help you make the decision. Depending on what amount of strands you want to use, make sure to use the right needle size. And this little tool will help you thread your needle like so. Remember, if threading is pretty difficult and the strands don't quite fit through, choose a larger needle. The 2 largest needles in the pack should accommodate 6 strands comfortably, and the smallest 2 will handle 1 strand without a problem. Now, before I show you a few different stitches you can use, let me share a pretty important tip. As you know, this cover is pretty bendy, and chances are you'll be using this notebook on a regular basis. Bending it back and forth, messing with it is only expected. So to minimize the impact on your stitches with all this movement, I highly recommend you keep the length of your stitches as short as possible. I'd keep it under a couple of centimeters in length on average. And to do that, you may want to resort to this beautiful pencil I mentioned before. It's included in the kit. Feel free to keep it creative and draw some lines breaking through each color section into smaller sections before you stitch, and then stick to them like I've done here. This will help keep the structure of your embroidery intact as you use the notebook on a daily basis. And finally, let's get down to business. Before you make your first stitch, I want to show you a cool, easy trick to make a perfect knot at the end of your thread. It's called a quilter's knot. You're going to want to thread your needle first and then get to the end of your thread on there. Make it face your needle and put the needle across the end, making a little cross. Then grab that end and twist it around the needle a couple of times. Then pinch the whole thing with your fingers and push the needle through it. Ta-da! Now back to the stitches. There are hundreds of different embroidery stitches out there. You're more than welcome to give it a Google and find something that speaks to you, but let me share a few I personally really like and recommend. Number 1 is satin stitch. This one is without a doubt my favorite. I use satin stitch to customize my notebook, as you've seen here. Satin stitches are incredibly simple to execute. You just place them next to each other, filling the space. Couldn't be simpler. It's like very, very easy. You can also use different lengths of satin stitch to create different textures and fill. There's definitely versatility with it. There are videos online you can check out and just learn more about it. But this is how you do satin stitch. Very simple. Number 2, split stitch. This stitch is really fun to do. It would probably take longer than satin stitch to fill the area, but it will offer a different kind of texture. This is how to do split stitch. You make a very simple starting stitch, and then you come back from underneath a little bit further down your imaginary line. You can keep it creative. It doesn't have to be in a line. And then when you want to put your needle down through the fabric, you're actually gonna go through the middle of your previous stitch, something like that. It does make a cool texture once there's a bunch of them on there. I'm not gonna show you because it's gonna take me all day. It's a very time-consuming one, just keep that in mind, but it is a cool one. And number 3, the last stitch I will recommend is seed stitch. This is probably the easiest option out there. This one might be a good option if you're not wanting to do a whole bunch of work but still want a texture to your embroidery. This is what it looks like. It is completely random and so fun to stitch. This is how you do it. You literally just put tiny stitches in a completely random matter. Just make it look random. Just make it look a mess, and in the end it will actually look pretty cool. Alright, and so once your colors are filled in, you have an option to outline your work in black. For the outline, you can also use these stitches or use an outline stitch. This is how you do an outline stitch. It's incredibly simple. It's probably the most beginner-friendly stitch out there. You just make a simple stitch, come up through the fabric down the line, and place your needle down through the fabric through the same hole where you finished your previous stitch. It's really simple. It makes a pretty cool outline with minimal effort. And you're done. I hope you enjoy this project. I'm gonna go continue customizing mine. Probably gonna take me 40 more hours or so. But remember, you don't have to do single strand stitching like I'm doing. This is just what I do. And you're always welcome to shoot me a DM on socials. I'll be more than happy to help. All right, bye.